Hey friends, I am so excited to be hanging out with you today. We are having another one of our famous Tuesday live streams, one of my favorite times to hang out with you guys. Excuse me, I have a little bit of a cough. One of my favorite times of the month to get to just hang out with you guys, to talk virtual assistants, something that changed my life, something that has changed, I know, so many of your lives. And so, what we do is on Tuesdays, we go in and we just take a deep dive into a different aspect of your business. And so, today, what I want to chat about is really for those of you who are still kind of on the fence about if virtual assistants is the right choice for you. Maybe you've looked at other work from a home opportunities or other small business opportunities, and you're still deciding, is this really for me? One, is virtual assistants right for me? And two, do I have what it takes to be a virtual assistant, right? Because I know that's the thought going through so many people's heads. And even if you're a little bit more established, I love that you're here because what we need and what I love about this community is the fact that we support one another. So if you are maybe more established in your business and you're here, thank you for being here because we need to hear from you and we need to hear what kind of helped you make that decision about choosing if virtual assistants was right for you or not. So today's going to be an awesome time together. I'm super excited. Really, I'm going to share a little bit of my story and just the 5 things that you really need to know, the 5 like filter process of what you need to go through to decide if virtual assistants is the right fit for you. Okay. Let's get some interaction in the comments. Let me know who is here, who has joined me today. I love chatting with you guys, and I love those of you who show up live. We usually have hundreds of people come on for the replay of these, but those of you who show up live, I really do appreciate it. So let me know who you are, where you're from, and kind of where you're at in this VA journey, because I always love hearing from you all. Angie, Missy, Shavana, so good to see you guys here. I see you already popping up in the comments. Before we dive in as well, I do want to point out that next week, you guys, next week, we have our virtual assistants challenge. Our 3-day challenge is coming up, and I am so excited for this because this is something, this is probably one of, no, this is probably like my favorite piece of content that we've created. My favorite challenge or workshop or whatever, or all the things that we've done in the past years. We've taken all of that knowledge, put it into one 3-day challenge, and it's going to be really jam packed. But the goal is by the end of the challenge is that you are going to choose your rate. You're going to choose the services that you are going to offer as a virtual assistant. You'll have your packages created and you'll have the tools to market your business effectively. Literally, we're going to get you ready to launch your business in just 3 days. So that is what we're doing in this challenge, and it's totally for free. So if you haven't already signed up for it, make sure that you do. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's next week, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday at noon Central Time. Okay. So excited. We have Catherine watching from the Philippines. Priscilla, hey, I know that you joined us during our last challenge. You were got your business started with this last challenge. I'd love to hear maybe some feedback of what you thought of the challenge last time, Priscilla, because I know you were super, super active in it. Laura, we have Laura from Texas. Awesome. More Texas fans. I love it. Dana from Maryland. Wonderful. Angie from Southwest Florida. Still starting your business with a full-time business. We get that for sure. Yes, so great to see you all here. Sonia from Illinois. So next week, starting the challenge. You guys have not already signed up, make sure that you do. Okay. Let's go ahead and dive in because what I want to talk about today is deciding if a virtual assistant business is the right step for you. For those of you who have already said, yes, I'm all in. This is the business that I want to pursue. This is a side hustle that I want to pursue. I would love to know what helped you make the decision. So again, let me know in the comments. We're going to make this super interactive. Okay, you guys. So I would love to hear from you. What helped you make that decision? Was there one thing that made you go, yep, this is for me? I'd love to know what it is. For me, I'll just give you a little bit of my background and my story. For me, virtual assistants was an absolute game changer. Okay. I was actually pregnant with my second child and I was a nanny. So I was, working for myself. My husband had, we had decided once I had my second kid that I would leave my full time job and that I would, stay home. But we financially needed some more money. And so he was working full time, like 12-hour days because we lived in DC and the traffic there is crazy. So we'd have to drive like 2 hours to and from work. So I'm at home with one kid and another one on the way thinking, I've got to make some money working from home. I was nannying a little bit at the side, didn't love it. It really wasn't something that made good substantial income for our family. And so a friend actually suggested that I look into virtual assistants. And you guys ever have like those pivotal moments in your life? Like I've gone back to Nicole and been like, you realize like you were the catalyst of all of this. I had no idea what a virtual assistant even was, but I literally Googled everything I could on the internet that night and realized that a virtual assistant um, business was something that I thought that I could do. I really thought, hey, I don't know all of this, but I think that I could learn this in a way that I really think that I could do this, right? And so I literally, action over perfection, started calling myself a virtual assistant the next day. And the craziest thing happened once I got myself out there. I found some local networking events. I marketed some on Facebook. I told friends and family what I was doing. I really put myself out there. My background is in marketing. So that part I knew was how to get the word out there about my services. And the craziest thing happened, you guys. Within 30 days, I had replaced that nanny income. And within 4 short months, I had actually replaced my husband's full time income with the government job he was working. I had 4 subcontractors working for me, enough that whenever my second child was born, I was able to take some time off. And it was the start of what we have here today. We've now trained nearly 6,000 students to go through the same process to make their own dreams reality. And not every business looks the same. Not every journey looks the same. I booked out my services very, very quickly, but it was also had my full time attention and I had a lot of marketing background, right? Every person's journey looks a little bit different. I know some of you have a full time job. I know that some of you are a little more nervous to put yourself out there. You just don't have the how to. That's what we're going to be covering next week in the challenge, right? So I also really feel like I had a lot of motivation. And this is something that I wanted before we go into like the 5 ways of knowing if a virtual assistant business is right for you. I had a lot, I basically had some fire under my butt, if you know what I'm saying, right? My second child was coming. I really didn't want to nanny anymore. In fact, I knew I would need some time and that I didn't even know if that position was really going to be available for me once I had 2 kids, one being a newborn. And we were really strapped financially. And I was just like, I can't go back to work. I literally can't, I don't want to, number one. And two, like financially putting 2 kids in daycare in Northern Virginia, like the salary I had been making at my previous job was not even enough to cover that. And so we were in a real bind, and I think that sometimes the those pressures in our life can become a catalyst for real change. And that's what happened to me. And it became my why, right? Like being at home with my kids became my why. And I thought, I'm just going to make this happen. Like I'm going to keep going until this happens, right? So I'd love to know. I said let's have this be interactive, whether you're an established VA, whether you are still considering virtual assistants, what is your why? We get asked that question a lot. And sometimes it'll change too, right? My why isn't to stay at home with my kids anymore. My kids are in school now. We love the school that they go to. However, my why has become freedom and flexibility. My why has become helping other people, right? My why has become building a financial legacy for our family and being able to give. My husband and I believe in irrational generosity. And so we try to give a lot of our personal income away. And those are things that motivate us. Our why is different now than it used to be, and yours will change over time too. And that's okay. In fact, it's good. So if you haven't kind of re examined your why in a while, I would challenge you to do so. And I'd love to hear in the comment section if you have a why presently that is pushing you, And if it's not, if you're like, oh, I have a why, but it's not really that like driving force and I don't find it motivating me every single day, okay, then maybe you need to dig a little deeper. What's one layer beneath why you're doing what you're doing? Because it really does make a difference. Bailey has a chronic illness, right? It's hard for her to have a regular job. I mean, that is some motivation right there, right? Like knowing this is the driving force why I want to work from home, right? And she wants that freedom, flexibility, and comfortable pay. So good. So good. I love this. Andy says, COVID made me realize I couldn't go back to an office job with an interior cubicle and no natural. I just want to, my why is the sun. Oh my gosh. I know that. I like for years was super vitamin D deficient, right? Because I just didn't see the sun for like a long time. And I remember the day I went into the doctor and my vitamin D levels, I mean, they were like real bad, like real bad. And I remember when I went in and my levels were normal for the first time, I'm like, oh, it's because I go outside now. Like those little things that you don't realize is a difference. That's huge, Andy. I really like that. So good. I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur. I've checked out other opportunities. When I was introduced to Savvy System, it felt so right to have a proven platform. Oh, yay. That's awesome. So good. Let's see, flexibility and freedom. My why is to have the flexibility to enjoy life more, spend more time with my daughter, have more autonomy over my time. Yes, to buy a home. You know what I love about so much of these whys, you guys? So in a previous training, I've done something, and there's probably a YouTube video on it somewhere, called flip the switch goals. So I love when your why is connected to a flip the switch goal. Let me explain what that is. So there's for me, I can say my why was spending more time with my kids, right? Yes. Okay. That's a goal, but like, how do you know when you've achieved it? Like, or that's your why, but a goal it needs to be specific. It needs to be measurable. It needs to be time bound, all of the things. Right. And so, a flip the switch goal is those things where you can say like, it happened. Right. So I love this one. I need to secure a home. Like, let's say you're going to buy a house or you're going to put down a down payment on a home, something like that. Like the moment that you like get the keys to your new house, like that is a flip the switch goal, right? Like it happened. Or let's say that your goal is to quit your 9 to 5 and work for yourself. The moment that you turn in that 2-week resignation or walk out the door for the final time, like it happened, right? So I love when our whys are connected to like a really specific goal that you can be like, oh my gosh, I did it. Because don't get me wrong, spending time with your kids is a very noble why, but like at what point do you know that it happened, right? Or like maybe it's my goal is to take off Fridays and that just be a fun day with my kids. Something like that, right? Like my goal is to eat lunch at my kids' school every single Tuesday. And like that first time that you go in on a Tuesday and you can do it and you didn't have to ask any boss to be there, flip the switch, it happened. So if you don't have like that, because that's how it goes, I believe, from being like this like inanimate, just why kind of flow. Oh, like I kind of want to make more money. No, like I want to consistently make $10,000 months in my business. Boom. When you have those invoices and you see the number $10,000, it happened. Flip the switch. So that can be really, really motivating whenever it is very specific, right? So all the things that I would encourage you to do. Okay, so have your why, have your flip the switch goal. What we decided to talk about today, the real reason we're here, is to give you 5 reasons how to know, or 5 ways to know that a virtual assistant business is right for you. Okay, so I'm going to break these down pretty quickly, and then we'll probably have a little bit of time at the end for Q&A as well. So the number one way to know if virtual assistants is right for you, and these are in no particular order, but the first step is to really understand what virtual assistants is, right? If you were anything like me, when someone told me about virtual assistants, I really didn't. I was like, that sounds cool. What is that, right? And maybe you guys have told your friends and family, or maybe you've gone to a networking event and people have said like, all virtual assistants. Wait, no, what does a virtual assistant do? That's how I was as well. So let me do like a quick breakdown because virtual assistants really is an umbrella term, right? Um a lot can fall under it, right? And so just like freelancer, right? Or even like graphic designer, like that all a lot could actually fall underneath that. So about what you're doing on a specific basis. And so virtual assistant, normally you are either more administrative, more creative, or more technical. And so you could be an admin VA, a tech VA, or a creative VA, right? And even underneath that, there's more specificities underneath it as well. So if you are, more technical, but also pretty creative, like Pinterest management might be a really great niche for you. If you're like admin, then being a general virtual assistant and doing like customer service emails or data entry or organizing inboxes or travel research and planning, right? Project management. Those are all really, really great skills. And there's levels that you can go inside of those skills too. So maybe you start out as a general virtual assistant, but then you go on to be a certified project manager or like a director of operations or an online business manager. Maybe if you are a tech VA, then you do kind of all kinds of tech for different small businesses, but later you realize, oh my gosh, what I really love is building websites. And so you start to build websites, right? And so virtual assistants, I believe, is the kickoff point for so many of us because eventually we will probably niche down into something, a higher end skill, or we will niche down to be, I'm only going to work with wedding planners or I'm only going to work with health coaches, right? And so there's so many ways that you can niche down eventually, but at the end of the day, starting off as a general virtual assistant means that you are helping small business owners with administrative, creative, or technical tasks, all that you can do remotely. Right. And so, really understanding what a virtual assistant is, I think, is the first step to knowing if virtual assistance is right for you. If you have questions about that, if you like still feel like you don't grasp it, or if there's an element of virtual assistance that you feel like you're not grasping, ask it in the questions below and we'll get to it once I go through the other 4 points. Okay. So, number two, once you know what a VA is, then it's time to take it and make it more personal. And you need to understand what services that you can offer specifically, right? On our blog, we have a list of 101 services that you can offer as a virtual assistant, which is super cool and also super overwhelming for most people. Let's be honest. Like most people look at that, excuse me, most people look at that and they're like, I can't do all these. It's too overwhelming. I can't be a VA, right? I can't do everything on that list. Like there are so many things on that 101 list, like 101 services you can offer as a virtual assistant that me being in business since 2015 still doesn't know how to do, right? Nor should I, right? You don't have to know everything to be a virtual assistant. You choose the things that you have experience in or that interests you, and those are the services that you choose, okay? So we're not going to break all of this down today. That's what the challenge is for. In day 1 and 2, mostly on day 2 of the challenge, is we're going to get really specific about your services. Okay, we've got like a quiz for you guys to take. You're going to dive in, you're going to circle and say these are my services. You're literally going to decide on them in this challenge, and then we're going to create pricing and packaging to go along with it and teach you how to market them. So if you haven't already, sign up for the challenge. That's when you're going to understand what services you should offer. If you already know your services, awesome, go ahead and sign up for the challenge because it's going to help you. Again, we're going to cover marketing and a whole lot of other things, but I'd love to know some of the services that you've chosen. Let me know in the comments section, because that, again, this is what's so cool about this community is that we can learn from one another. And some of you guys who are a little bit more established, I love that you come and you that you are helping and you are guiding other people through people that are just a few steps behind you, right? You're like, well, here's what I chose, and it really, really does help. Okay. Awesome. Let's keep going. So the 5 ways to know if virtual assistance is right for you: you got to know what a VA is, you've got to understand what services you specifically can offer, and then number 3, understand the need. Okay, so I feel like this is one of those mental blocks, right? Normally the two biggest questions that we get after what is a virtual assistant is, do I have what it takes? Right? Like, do I personally have the services that somebody would want? And then next is like, is there really a market for this? And so I want to address that really quickly, and we'll talk about this a little bit more. I think on day 3 of the training, we've got some really cool like statistics and all of that. But I will tell you, virtual assistants, it's crazy because yes, there's an increase in virtual assistants. Like more and more people are becoming virtual assistants, of course. But as it's happening, more and more people are hiring virtual assistants as well, right? And so we haven't met that point where like the amount of people is slowing down and the amount of VAs is increasing. They're increasing pretty much on the same rate, which is really cool. And so as our group, you can see even in our Facebook group, which has 120,000 virtual assistants in it. You can see, well, not all of them are VAs, number one, some of them are hiring VAs. And so as the group increases and the number of people interested in VA work increases, the number of job opportunities increases as well, right? And so with students that enroll in our courses, if you follow the steps correctly, then people are able to find clients. People are able. And what's so cool about virtual assistants too, which we'll talk about more in the challenge, but is that you don't need hundreds of people to say yes. You don't need thousands of people to say yes, right? Most virtual assistants can replace their full-time income with 4 to 7 clients, right? And so if you have, if you're signing people on a little bit bigger packages, you literally could replace your full-time income with just 4 people saying yes. And so when you think about it that way, there is enough work for all of us, right? Which I think is really, really great because that's one of the fears that people have. And I know that it feels like a lot of competition if you're in a big group like our VA Savvies, but I promise if you go to a local networking event, you call yourself a virtual assistant, people are going to be like, oh, you might be the only one there. You likely will be the only VA there, right? Because it's just not as common as we think it is when we're in our little bubble. And so know that the need is real. The need is there. People are getting more and more comfortable with hiring remotely. Small business owners who used to hire a part-time in-person assistant are looking more towards virtual assistants. Books are being written all the time about like hire a VA, hire a VA, hire a VA, right? And we're here to fill the need. So I love that. I'm excited about it because this is a growing trend, but you guys were on the cusp of it, and how great is that? So number 4 is, once you've decided, yes, I want to be a VA, I understand that the need is there, I understand the services I can offer, I know what a VA is. The next is to go a little bit deeper into how a virtual assistant works, and that is the fact that you will be an independent contractor, right? And so there's a lot we could go into. You can literally Google and watch videos on independent contracting too. The biggest thing that I would want to relay to you today is the fact that you're not an employee, which, like, heck to the yes, that's why most of us are pursuing virtual assistants, because we don't want to be an employee anymore, right? And so what are some of the differences between an employee and an independent contractor? Well, as an independent contractor, you choose. Essentially, you're your own business owner, right? And so you get to choose when you will work, how you will work, what you will charge, right? The ways in which you work and the tools that you'll use to work with. And so where an employer can say, hey, I need you here every Tuesday at 8 a.m. As a independent contractor, you can say, hey, every Tuesday I'll be working from 9 to 2, right? Like, or whatever it might be, right? You don't even necessarily have to say the hours. Like, you get to choose that, right? And so I think that in the same way, you'll get to choose your hourly rate. If you hired somebody to come to your house to do to paint your house or to clean for you, or if you had a plumber come, I use that example a lot, to your house, you don't call up a plumber and you say, hey, I need you here tomorrow at 9 a.m. and I will pay you $20 an hour. That's just not how it works because they are independent contractors. They have their own business. They choose their rate, when and how they work. They'll bring their own tools, right? And so, whereas an employer would probably have to pay for, the tools that you would be using, or possibly your computer, or things like that. It's all on you as an independent contractor, but you get all the freedom with it too. So those are some of the differences between being an employee and an independent contractor. Again, if you have questions about that, go ahead and drop them in the chat and we can talk about it a little more. But I think it's really important to realize, not only for you, but for your clients as well. And I see this sometimes pop up in our group where people are like, I can't believe this person, they're asking me to do this, or they're crossing all these boundaries. Guys, some people, I would encourage you to be firm, to set boundaries, but to also have some grace. I think that there are clients who don't always understand this concept. And so it can be your job to educate them. Hey, actually, I'm an independent contractor. This is how I work. And that's why setting those expectations at the beginning is really, really important. Having a good contract in place, having a great onboarding meeting or a good onboarding packet that you'll send them that is like, hey, this is how I work. And so you set the tone from the very beginning. Okay. Again, we can dive into that more. All right, so let's go into the fifth and final way to know if virtual assistants is right for you. And that is to understand what you will actually need in order to get started, right? So if you know, yes, I want to do this, I know what a VA is, I understand the services that I'll be offering, I understand the need is out there, I know what independent contracting is and kind of how that differs from just being, an employee. Let's talk about what you actually need to get started. Okay. And this isn't the blueprint. That's what we're going to be going over in the challenge. Okay. So what should be choosing your pricing and your packaging and all of that. But a couple of like non-negotiables of what you need. Okay. Number one, you will need a computer. Like, I feel like that's like really obvious and goes without saying, but we get that question still. Now there are ways around that, right? I have known people to like get their first client on a computer at the library, and hey, that works. I would not recommend trying to do this business from your phone. That's like a thing. That's like a TikTok thing or whatever. It's like, there's jobs you can do from your phone. It's going to be really, really hard to do true good work entirely from your phone. They're obviously like, if you're creating reels for a client or something as an Instagram professional, maybe you can do a lot of that from your phone. But the majority of it, you're going to need a decent internet connection, and you're going to need a computer. Okay. So there's not really much of a way around that. You're going to need some figure it outedness. And yes, I made up that word, but you're going to need to, again, like I said, it's not being a virtual assistant and being an entrepreneur in general. Like, how many years am I into this? What did I say? I said 2015. So I'm 8 years into business. And I literally the other day was telling a friend, I'm like, I still feel like half the time I'm just like making it up as I go along, right? Like, if you feel that way, if you feel that like, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm in over my head. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't, I'm not prepared, imposter syndrome. Guys, you're not alone. And that's what's amazing about starting a business is that, one, everybody's in the same book. None of us know what we're doing because we haven't done this before, right? It's why we hire mentors. It's why we take courses. It's because we surround ourselves with people who have been there, who are a few steps ahead of us, who have been there before, so they can advise us. So again, I have an advisor because there are where I'm at in business right now, I've never been at before. I shouldn't be expected to know how to do this, right? So I will take courses, I will hire advisors, and I will be around people who have been there, who can help me in this place in my business. And then I'll get to the next place in my business and I'll be like, I don't know what I'm doing. I feel like I'm making this up as I go along. I'll get advisors, right? I'll have courses I'm taking. I will always be learning and bettering myself because that's how you advance in this business. So if you have this like, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how to do this. Good. You're in the right place then, right? Surround yourself with people, with courses, with advisors who have been here before so they can lead you and guide you in this process, okay? You'll have to have that element of figure it outedness where you're just like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm smart and I can figure it out, or I can ask the right people, right? And I know there's different personalities out there too. Like I'm a Googler. Like I am a Googler. Like if that was a profession, I could just do that all day long. Like I can find anything on the internet, which, has never mind. Like, there was like a kid picking on my school. I'm gonna find who their parents are. I'm gonna like it can, you all do it. You know you do. So, like shooting myself in the foot here. I'm really good at Googling. I can find out anything on the internet. I will say that. And some of you guys are that way. Some of you guys are people where you're like, I'm not necessarily great at researching and finding things out on the internet, creepy Abby. But I am good at just talking to people, right? And that's totally my husband. Like he isn't necessarily like a Google extraordinaire, but I'll be like, I spent 3 hours and you know what I figured out? I figured out that blah 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 could happen with our mortgage. And he's like, cool. I spent 10 seconds and I just called our mortgage guy and asked him, and he told me the same thing. Right. And so some of you guys are more bent on like the research part. Some of you guys are more bent on the connections part. That's fine. As long as you have that can do attitude of like, I can figure this out. Right. I don't know everything. None of us are going to know everything. But I can figure it out. And that's another element, right? To understanding what you need to get started is really grasping and being okay with not knowing it all. I don't have to know it all. I just have to know where to find the information, right? That is like if we can just all be okay with that part of virtual assistants about starting a business in general, you're going to get so much further than getting caught up in the fear of not knowing it all. Um, I also think that you have to get over the fear of perfection, right? Which is really just like a fear of rejection in disguise. I think it's like if this isn't perfect, then I will fail or I will be rejected, right? Is what most of us are actually dealing with when it's perfectionism. And that's why one of our core values here at the Virtual Savvy is action over perfection, right? Your business will be built off of a series of imperfect steps. Okay, let me say it again. Your business will be built off of a series of imperfect steps. Imperfect action is what's going to get you to your goal, not perfect action, right? Because we're waiting for perfection, you'll be waiting forever. And so you've got to be okay with releasing a non-polished product. Now, that doesn't mean you're not excellent. That doesn't mean you don't try your hardest. But there is an element where you say, okay, Abby, stop putting together the website, stop tweaking my logo, stop going over my packages for the 10,000th time. I've been thinking of a name for 3 months now. I just need to decide already, right? Because when we get caught in the act of perfectionism, we get stuck. And I've seen it. The reason why I emphasize it is because I've seen it happen time and time and time again. Action over perfection. It is literally our top core value at the Virtual Savvy, because you just got to keep moving forward, right? I don't care if you've been knocked down. I don't care if you have been rejected. I don't care if you have had failures. You keep going. You just keep moving forward, right? It's your business is built on a series of imperfect actions. It's built on a series of mistakes and learning from them, but that's how we get to our goals. Um, and the last thing you'll need is time to commit to your business, right? If we talk about what you really need to get started, I'm just going to be really honest with you. You're not going to be able to launch this business in like your extra 30 minutes a week. Like that's really just not enough time to get momentum. So one of the first things that we're going to be doing in the 5-day challenge is helping you carve out the time. If you don't have time right now, we will help you find time. Okay. So that's one of the steps that we'll be taking. It's going to be a really cool activity that we'll be leading you guys through. So if you haven't already, commit the time. It is a 3-day challenge. We will be going live every single day at noon for about an hour. And we may go a little over, especially on Friday. So I would probably block off 60 minutes on Tuesday and Wednesday, and probably, or not Friday, sorry, Thursday. We used to do the training on Friday. So I'd block off 60 minutes for Tuesday, 60 minutes for Wednesday, and then probably closer to 90 minutes on Thursday because it's the last day of the training. And we are just going to go in deep. Okay, you guys, it's going to be awesome. So let's do this. We have a little bit more time here together. What questions do you have? I know that I just threw a lot at you, right? We talked about what your why is. We talked about the 5 different ways to know that a virtual assistant business is right for you. So, what questions do you still have? What hangups do you have? Is there a part of virtual assistants that maybe you're not understanding? Or maybe if you're a current VA, is there a roadblock that you're currently hitting? I would love to know as I take a drink of my Coke Zero. Okay, my watered down Coke Zero. um, all right, so I see a few questions. I'm just going to go through them. For trainings, we have replays. Yes, so the virtual assistant challenge, there will be a replay each day. So I think the replays stay up through the following week, like Monday, I believe. So it will be a limited time replay, but there will be replays if you're not able to be there live. We totally understand, but we make it a limited time replay because we know that if we don't, then people just won't get around to doing it. So again, sometimes having that fire under your butt is what you need, and so that's why we make it a limited time replay. But yes, if you know that you just can't be there live, maybe you work a 9 to 5, or maybe you're on a different time zone, then sign up for the challenge, and we'll be sending out the replays every single day. Great question. How many skills should you narrow down to? So I don't think that there's necessarily one right answer to this. Um, if you are a general virtual assistant, I've seen people have a list of like 20 or 30 skills, right? Because there's just a lot you can do under general virtual assistants. And I think that it's fine to start out that way. Eventually you'll probably want to niche down. So I've seen people go from a list of 20 to 30 skills that they offer down to like, I only do Dubsado setup for wedding planners, like to getting that specific, right? So there's not a really a right or wrong answer. I will say my personal viewpoint, I was actually just having lunch with a friend on Friday where we were talking about this, about going broad or going narrow. So I'll do my little niche spiel right now. It is said the riches are in the niches, right? And it is true. If you narrow your focus, you can charge more, get more specific with your marketing, all of that, right? What also happens when you narrow down your niche is that you limit your pool, right? And so my suggestion is when you're first starting out to go broad, because sometimes you don't know. Like you can say, "Oh, I only want to work with health professionals." But if you've only ever worked for one health professional and then you get like 5 of them and you're like, "Oh, actually, I hate this niche," then you've really put yourself in a corner. You can back out of that corner. Again, you can always pivot in your business. But my suggestion is to go broad, is to, in the beginning, be a general virtual assistant and don't niche down too much in the very beginning. Once you've worked with a few clients, once you've like have some time under your belt, and that might be 3 months, might be 6 months, it might be a year, that is normally when you're able to see like, oh, you know what I really love? Like I realized I didn't even know it, but I hate doing admin tasks. I only want to do creative tasks. Or I hired a subcontractor and I realized I don't want to do the tasks at all. I just want to manage people doing the tasks. That's what I did. I was like, I actually find that I like managing a team much more than doing the work myself. And so that's kind of I went more the agency model, right? You might realize that you just want to dive deep into businesses a few days a week. And so you do kind of the done in a day model. My friend Jordan Gill, it's like her coined thing where she teaches how to like just, hey, I'm going to help you do a website, but we're going to do it all in one day, right? And I'm going to work 4 days a week, 5 grand, 4 times a week, right? Um, and so there's like a lot of different ways to go about it, but until you really dive in and know what you like, what you don't like, the type of clients you like working with, all of that is it's just difficult to know. So I don't think there is one set number of services you should offer. I say go broad first, offer as many as you are interested in or know how to do, and then over time you can narrow them down. Okay. Um let's see. I'm excited for the challenge. Yes. I hate to admit it, but the biggest thing holding me back is guilt. Any advice how to navigate the notice combo with my employee. I mean, here's the thing, like, I get that, but let me say a couple of things here. Um, number one, I mean, take two steps back. Like, if you're at a job that you don't like, you don't want to stay there forever, right? Now I think that you need to prepare. So if there was like a fear that I'm not ready to quit, like that I get, because like you want to make sure that you have like some emergency savings, you have that cushion, that you are prepared, right? But the conversation with your employer, I mean, I'm a boss too, like I get it. And that is just part of being a boss. Like no person is going to stay with you forever, right? Like there's in no way do I expect my employees to still be working for me in their 90s, right? Like as much as I would love that, like that's just not reality. People's lives change, their goals change, different opportunities come up. And so it's just part of it. But I think that what you can lean into, Caitlin, is the fact that because you have this guilt or fear, whatever it might be, it's going to cause you to act um, with like extra grace and extra compassion for the situation, and which are beautiful things. So lean into the grace, the compassion, letting them know, being willing to kind of help out in that transition, setting them up for success. Like let that motivate you to have extra grace and compassion and generosity towards them. Don't let that lean into self-abandonment, right? Where you're like, well, because I feel guilty, I'm just not going to do it. I'm going to keep working at a place that I hate. Or and then maybe you don't hate it. It sounds like, maybe you have a good relationship with your employer, but like don't let it go to the point where you're like, I'm just going to keep working here because I feel too guilty quitting, right? That's self-abandonment and that's not helpful to you or your employer, okay? And so that would be my suggestion. Lean into the parts of this that are the healthy parts, which are like, I care about my employer, which is a beautiful thing. And so I'm going to set them up for success, but don't go so far where you're doing self abandonment, if that makes sense. Okay. Um, I thought of marketing myself as a VA to teachers as a former teacher. Is that too specific? So, um, yes, I don't think that that is necessarily a bad idea. Um, I just have a couple words of caution, okay? So, I'm just gonna put this like super bluntly, if that's okay. Um, Part of niching down is choosing a niche where people can pay you well. Like the riches are in the niches because as you niche down, you can charge more generally. With niching down to teachers, you might be niching down, but not able to charge more. I'm not saying it's impossible. It's just going to be a different business model. So you're going to have to think through that, right? And really talk to some teachers potentially. Like that's the beautiful thing about choosing a niche is that, especially if you have a lot of connections to that niche, really talk to people, see if it's an actual business, not just something people are like, oh, that's a good idea. No, would you pay for this? Like, and a great way to validate a niche is to actually get people to sign up for it, right? And so validate by pre-signing up some people on it, right? Because I mean, people just being like, oh, that's a good idea is way different than them putting like their wallet where their money where their mouth is or whatever, right? Like that's, and so my suggestion would be to talk to some of these people. Now, um, you know, I could foresee potentially like I know that there are like if you want to stick in the education niche, that there are like some professors, like college university professors that potentially would be able to do this. But normally virtual assistants are targeting small business owners and you want them to be at the point where they're able to pay you a rate that is worth your time as well. Okay, I hope I said all that right. Please give me the grace if I didn't vocalize that very well. Um, okay, let's see here. How difficult is it to get your first client? Laura says. So, um, sorry, I was looking at my other thing, and I need to blow my nose. Sorry, I'm like kind of sick. I'm not super sick. I'm just like, I don't know. Does anyone else feel like they're getting like allergies again? Like I get spring allergies and then I get like fall allergies. I'm like, come on, guys. Um, okay, how difficult is it to get your first client? So I don't think that getting clients is difficult. I think what is difficult is putting yourself out there. So most of us don't get clients because we don't actually put ourselves out there. And there's a difference between passive marketing and active marketing. Okay. Passive marketing is like, I'm going to announce this on my Facebook page. Look, I made a business page and I'm posting to it 3 times a week, 3 times a day, even. That's passive marketing. That is, I'm going to put it out there and just close my eyes and hope that somebody grabs onto it. Right. And so I don't see people get a lot of traction that way. And so maybe if that's like what you've been doing, or you've been just like kind of engaging in Facebook groups, but not really actually applying to job opportunities or not making those one-on-one connections, like not like putting yourself out there for discovery calls and doing value first. That's one of the things we talk about a lot inside of our to our students as well. Like if you're not making relationships, building relationships, getting on coffee chats and discovery calls, going to network, like the relationship part of it. If you're just posting 3 times a day and like hoping somebody grabs onto it, it's going to take you a really long time to get clients probably. But if you were sending out a personal outreach email, which is one of the things we teach inside of this challenge that we have coming up, we'll have a template for you guys. If you're sending that email out, if you're having real conversations, if you're actually engaging with business owners, if you're applying to job opportunities, like if you're doing the real work to get clients, then you can get clients very quickly. We've had students sell out their services in 1 month, 2 months, and then we've had people struggle because, and then when we really dive in, we're like, what kind of marketing have you been doing? They're like, well, I just launched my website. Trust me, launching your website means nothing to most people, right? Like, I think that we think like we're going to launch our website and then all of a sudden it's going to be the floodgates are going to open. I literally was having a conversation with my friend this past Friday. And we were chatting business and she has been like grueling over her website and her website is gorgeous. Like, do not get me wrong. Like she did so good on it. I was like, this is beautiful. She's like, Abby, I don't know what I was thinking. She's like, I know, like, I just had this in my head. Like I would like I spent months and months working on my website and I'm like, I don't want to launch yet because I'm not ready. I don't want to launch yet. I'm not ready. I'm not ready for the influx of clients. She's like, I just thought everybody needs a service. So they're just going to become flooding. She's like, so I turned on my website and announced it on Facebook and it's been weeks and I've heard nothing. And it's like, yeah, like that's how it is for most of us, right? Like we just putting something out there doesn't mean like you have to go out and get your first clients. And so that's what we teach. That's what we're teaching inside of this challenge is how to go get them. They're not just going to come to you for the first ones. Now, eventually, once you build a brand, once you have a reputation, once you get those referrals, which referrals are the gold mine of marketing, once you have all that built, yes, people are going to come out to you, but that's just not how it is in the beginning. So if you're doing active marketing, you're going and you are getting those first clients, then yes, you can sell out your services very quickly. What's the best way to gain training? I signed up for Udemy courses, YouTube. So couple of different things. Number one, this challenge. I know I keep referring to it, but it's so good. We also have something called Savvy Vault. If you haven't checked it out, savvyvault.com. So Savvy Vault is a really great resource for virtual assistants too. And we really narrow down to skills just for VAs. And we even teach you how to like price and package some of those higher end skills as well too. So like if you want to be a Pinterest manager, like you can take our Pinterest management courses and we'll even teach you how to price and package them and all of that. And so again, there's no one set path for anyone. I can't say, oh, definitely you have to take this, and this, because it really determines on what you want to offer, what type of clients you want to work for, and what skills you want to be doing. What I wouldn't do, again, is try to learn all of it. So my suggestion would not be to go take every Udemy class, every YouTube course you can do. It would be to just narrow in, okay, I'm going to offer these 5 services. I'm going to be a general VA, and I'm going to start with those things and just get out there. Let me get to marketing as soon as possible, instead of trying to learn it all. Because that's what I see a lot of people doing too, is that they go and they just like spend all this time trying to learn every skill under the sun, and they'll do that for like 6 months and never go out and try to get clients. So often when you get your first client, they're already like, you're going to be replacing something that they're already doing. So you don't need to know every type of skill out there, because they're going to come to you and they're going to say, hey, I just need you to post on my social media 3 times a week. Here's how I already do it. Here are the tools I use to do it. Da 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 da. And you can literally just take over and then improve what they're already doing, right? Sometimes they will hire you to do something that they haven't done before. Okay. So I'm not saying that's all the time, but a lot of the times, like my very first client, one of my very first clients was an insurance agent, and I just took over a process he was already doing. It was in his whole State Farm system. I would log in, I would do the thing, I would call clients and do appointment setting phone calls for him. I didn't write the script, I didn't create the system, I didn't even know the system before he trained me on it, right? And so a lot of times as a new VA, you'll actually just be taking over things that they're already doing. And that's what's great, is because then you get like on the job training, you get to learn these things as you go, and you get to be in there enough that you can maybe start to see, oh, here's some ways we can improve this, or here, and really show your value over time that way too. Um, so many good questions, you guys. Um, okay, which ones do I choose? Were client expectations difficult for you when first starting out before you got comfortable? Great question, Lauren. So, um, I would set my boundaries really clear in the beginning. So that's advice number one as far as client expectations. Like, you get to set those. And so from day one, you can say, like, hey, just to let you know, I respond to emails within 24 hours. If you want a project done before in less than 24 hours, I will charge a rush fee. Things like that are going to be setting expectations from the get-go. I only communicate via email and Slack. Like, I will not respond to text messages. Those kinds of client expectations are really, really important for you to set. You have to set those boundaries from the beginning, right? And then so the first part of that is like, have boundaries. The second part of that is, and communicate those boundaries very, very, very clearly from day one. The second part is to, okay, hold on, I had it. Set your boundaries. The second part is to um, have honesty. I was like, it's somewhere in there. The second is to be really, really honest and transparent. So, guys, if a client asks you to do something you don't know how to do, it's okay to tell them you don't know how to do it. Like, don't agree to do something or don't sign up for something that you don't know how to do. Like, that's like, really, just be honest. I saw somebody else ask, like, if I see a job opportunity, yeah, what if I have certain skills in a job, but not all the skills? Should I still apply? Yes, still apply, Debbie, but be honest about it. Like, I have experience in this, 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 and this. I will say that I have not worked with ConvertKit before, right? I've not worked with ConvertKit. However, I'm gonna dive in. I'm gonna watch a few YouTube videos on it, or I'm gonna take a Savvy Vault course in it. And I'm a fast learner. I believe, that I could learn this quickly. Be honest about it up front, though. Okay. So if your client is expecting you to do things that you don't know how to do, is it because you kind of let them believe that you knew how to do those things? Like, be honest. You can be confident and honest at the same time, right? And so I think that if you do those two things, if you set boundaries and you just have real honesty about the skills you have and don't have yet, then and you just stay honest with your clients, those are gonna be the two things to help you the most in, kind of tampering those expectations. Okay. Um Oh my gosh, you guys are asking so much good questions. Laura says, if I start to receive more clients and wish to outsource tasks without hiring a full team at this point, do I update my website to indicate I outsource some work, even if it portrays a solopreneur? So yeah, what I would do is I would just start using the language, whether it's on your website or your socials or in your client communications, just start saying my team and I. Okay. So that I think is just it's a really easy switch. Even if you promote yourself as a solopreneur, like I don't think that that's a bad thing. Like, my business was just abbyashley.com. Like that when I grew my agency, it was all under abbyashley.com. It was me on all my socials, it was me on my website. I literally just went in and just tweaked things to say my team and I. Okay. So really, really easy switch. And then you want to have that in your contract as well, that like that you have a team of people. And I think there's a lot of ways that you can sell the fact that you have a team of people, like it is a benefit to you that it's not just me. It means that if I'm out sick, it means that if I have a busy day, it means that if I don't have experience, like I have a team, you have a team of people backing you. Like it is actually a benefit to the employer to have a team of people. And I think that you can really sell it that way too. So I don't think you need to do a total rebrand. You don't need a new name. You don't do any of those things. If you've been promoting yourself as a solopreneur, just kind of start using that lingo. My team and I, putting it inside of your website, things like that. But so exciting. That I love that you're already like forward thinking about this. That's really, really great. Um, I'm an HR director. Love that. I want to offer VA services in HR administration. I know HR is so broad. It's a bad thing if I do not niche because all businesses can benefit from HR. Yes, 100%. I don't think you need to niche down further than that. So essentially, most people start off as a general VA, right? Like I'm going to offer all services to all people. And then we get to the point where I can't make my hands sit. Okay. Then you get to the point where you niche. Okay. So after you've kind of decided who you like working with, you already know. You're like, I am already connected to this industry. So I don't think that you have to, I don't think that you like need to do general admin if you like already are really, really well connected to a certain industry or service, right? So let's say then you niche. Then you can niche down in one of three ways. You can niche down by service, which is what you're doing. Like I'm going to do HR services. You can niche down by industry. So that's not your industry. That's like the industry you would market to. So like I'm going to do HR services or okay, I'm going to do HR services, right? That is your service niche. I am going to work with wedding professionals. That is an industry. I'm going to do all types of tasks, but for wedding professionals. Or you can do by service and industry, right? I'm going to do HR for wedding professionals, right? Like you can niche down by both. I don't think you need like none of those is wrong. And none of them is necessarily better than the other. So if you choose to niche down by service, which is HR, great. If you say, I'm going to work in the wedding professional industry, great. Or if you say, I'm going to do accounting for the wedding industry, great. Just choose one once you're at that point, once you know you're ready to niche, and choose one. Okay. So hope that made sense. So you can niche by service, industry, or both. You are choosing to niche by service, not by industry. And I think that that's great. And maybe someday you will. Maybe after you've done your HR services for a while, it's that same thing. Maybe you get your HR services out there and you work for tons of different clients. And after a while, you're like, I really only like doing this for female business owners, or I really only like doing this for veterinary clinics. Like, I don't know, like over time you might find, okay, I'm going to niche down by industry too, but by no means do you need to do that in the beginning. In fact, for most people, I would caution you not to niche down too much in the very beginning, because again, it makes your pool smaller. If you have a lot of connections in that industry, go for it. If you're like, oh my gosh, no, I know thousands of real estate professionals and I have a bookkeeping background, then do bookkeeping for real estate professionals. Go ahead, niche down by service and industry. Just don't limit yourself so much if you don't already have a lot of connections to a certain industry. Okay. Cool, cool, cool. Oh my gosh. Okay, I'll do one more question. You guys are asking such good ones, but I feel like I'm gonna need a couple more notes soon. I'm starting to sound a little nasally to you guys. All right, Debbie says, when applying for a job up and they ask for a resume, should we provide one or will a portfolio be enough? Um, yeah, I think that again, is just business owners not really understanding, like, you don't need a resume if this isn't a W-2 position, So it's up to you. So you could go ahead, like, I still sometimes, like, just keep a professional resume. I'm, like, never gonna be an employee again, ever. Um, but, like, I'll just keep one on hand because it's like, why not? The other day I was, like, applying for some, like, local award, which I didn't get, by the way, it's fine. But, like, local female business owner, and they asked for a resume. I was like, "Why do you need a resume?" Whatever, but I just did it because I wanted the award, and why not? But I don't think you have, like, when you're getting a job, like, portfolio is going to be way more common. So you can say, in lieu of a resume, I've attached my portfolio, which has blah, 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 blah. Again, it doesn't really, I think, matter as much as long as you're doing um, value first, right? Value first is what we talk about time and time. It is a differentiator between people who get clients and who don't. So if you can send along a portfolio, if you just send, like, okay, I've attached my portfolio, thanks. They're probably going to read that and be like, oh, they didn't follow directions, right? Pass. However, if you're like, hey, in lieu of a resume, I've sent my portfolio, which is actually way more inclusive. It has a lot more information than a standard resume would. If you want more information, let me know. But my portfolio includes this, 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 and this. Also, I noted that you are specifically looking for somebody to answer customer service emails. I looked at your website, and I am assuming that the top 3 questions you get on your website are this, this, and this. So in addition to my portfolio, I went ahead and I attached what my answers would be to those top 3 questions. Obviously, I don't know your company's inner workings, and so my response might not be exactly what you would want. However, I just wanted to show you my work, essentially, and what level of service you could be getting when you work with me. Okay, can you see the difference? I attach my portfolio versus portfolio, explanation, value first, all of the things, right? And in that final email, when can we set up a time to chat? Like, it is the difference between value first and not value first. That makes all the difference. And that's what we teach inside of our Savvy System course, which is why our students get results so quickly, right? Is because value first, value first, value first. It is worth it to take the extra time. We say this all the time. If you apply to 10 jobs a day and just, like, sending off just your portfolio, here's my portfolio, here's my website, versus if you did 2 a day or 3 a day, but spent the time doing value first for those 3 jobs, you're going to find so much more success in doing 3 a day with value first than doing 10 a day without value first. Okay. Value first marketing, it makes all the difference. Okay, guys. Thanks for sticking it out with me as I go through my cold. Hopefully, I'll feel a little better next week for the challenge. I think I will. I'm on the up and up, I'm on the upswing of being sick. So, the virtualsavvy.com/challenge. It's our 3-day series. It's totally free. You're gonna love it. If you haven't already joined, make sure that you do. And it starts next Tuesday. So this time, same place next week. And I will see you guys there. Bye.